Breaking the Silence: How Community Transforms Isolation into Power. Welcome to this extraordinary journey of transformation. I recently had the privilege of interviewing Jacquie Hadnot, a woman whose very presence commands attention not through volume, but through the undeniable power of authentic truth telling. Jacquie isn't just an advocate for women's empowerment. She's a revolutionary architect building bridges where others see only chasms. Her work in helping women overcome adversity and achieve prosperity has transformed countless lives, creating ripples of change that extend far beyond individual healing to reshape entire communities and challenge the very foundations of workplace cultures. What struck me most about my conversation with Jacquie was her unflinching commitment to addressing a painful reality that so many of us know, but few dare to name. Many women, especially Black women professionals, suffer in silence. They believe their struggles are uniquely theirs, creating what Jacquie powerfully described as a prison of isolation that prevents both healing and growth. Silence, Jacquie told me, with a gaze that seemed to penetrate straight to the soul, isn't just uncomfortable, it's deadly to our spirits and our potential. This insight resonated deeply as we explored how isolation creates nearly impenetrable barriers to personal and professional advancement. The wisdom Jacquie shared deserves to be amplified, which is why I'm bringing these powerful insights to you today. When talented Black women receive pink slips while mediocre men float away on golden parachutes, the injustice isn't just in the disparity of treatment. The deeper wound comes from the silence surrounding these experiences. The way women are conditioned to internalize failure, to question their worth, to suffer alone rather than build community around shared challenges. Jacquie emphasized three critical pathways that can transform this isolation into collective power: breaking the cycle of isolation through intentional community building, embracing authentic identity in professional spaces, and creating sustainable financial empowerment. Let's start with breaking that cycle of isolation. Letitia Clark's story exemplifies this principle perfectly. As founder of the Pink Parachute Diaries podcast, Letitia witnessed a disturbing pattern in corporate America. Talented Black women were receiving pink slips while their mediocre male counterparts floated away on golden parachutes. More troubling than this obvious injustice was the silence surrounding it. Black women professionals suffering in isolation, believing their struggles were uniquely theirs. This silence wasn't just uncomfortable, it was creating a prison of isolation that prevented both healing and growth. Letitia's response was revolutionary in its simplicity. Build a platform dedicated to breaking the silence by documenting and sharing journeys of resilience, authenticity, and perseverance. What began as a podcast has transformed into a movement that validates experiences, celebrates victories, and creates a blueprint for success that centers Black women's realities. The impact has been profound. Listeners have found healing through shared experiences, realizing they aren't alone in their professional challenges. As one listener shared, for the first time, I heard my story told by someone else. I realized I wasn't crazy, I wasn't failing, I was navigating a system designed for me to fail. This is the power of breaking isolation. When we create spaces for truth telling, for vulnerability, for authentic connection, we transform individual pain into collective wisdom. We create communities of support that can sustain us through challenges that would break us if faced alone. Jacquie emphasized that this community building isn't a luxury, it's essential infrastructure for survival and success. It's the difference between drowning alone and building a boat together. The second pathway Jacquie highlighted was embracing authentic identity in professional spaces. This requires resisting the pressure to shrink ourselves, to contort into shapes acceptable to workplace cultures that weren't designed with us in mind. A powerful example of this principle emerged in a Pink Parachute Diaries episode inspired by Christy Lawson. This episode explored how embracing authentic identity enables Black professionals to walk confidently in their purpose, even in environments that subtly or overtly discourage such authenticity. Many professionals face immense pressure to diminish themselves in workplace settings. They struggle with self worth and the ability to negotiate for what they deserve. They've been taught to be grateful for any opportunity, making it difficult to advocate for themselves or recognize their true value. Through intentional community support and mentorship, women in Christie's network learn to overcome imposter syndrome, articulate their value, and create pathways to leadership that didn't require compromising their authentic selves. As Jacquie put it, with a smile that held both warmth and steel. Walking in your purpose isn't about finding the perfect job, it's about bringing your whole, uncompromised self to whatever work you do. This authenticity becomes the foundation for both personal prosperity and the ability to lift others. When we stand firmly in our truth, we create space for others to do the same. We model a different way of being professional that doesn't require severing parts of our identity at the door. The ripple effects have been remarkable. These empowered professionals have gone on to create more inclusive workplaces and mentor others, multiplying the impact of their personal transformation. One woman who embraced her authentic leadership style went from being passed over for promotion 3 times to leading a department that now consistently outperforms all others in her organization. But authenticity alone isn't enough. The third pathway Jacquie emphasized was building sustainable financial empowerment. Economic independence is crucial for women escaping cycles of poverty and abuse. Through practical skills like entrepreneurship, grant writing, and budgeting, women can create sustainable prosperity that extends beyond themselves to impact their communities. Jacquie shared that financial empowerment isn't just about earning more. It's about understanding the systems that create and perpetuate wealth disparities and developing strategies to navigate and ultimately transform those systems. This understanding is particularly critical for Black women who face a staggering wealth gap. According to recent data, single Black women own just $200 in median wealth compared to $15,640 for single white women and $28,900 are for single white men. This isn't about individual failing. It's about systemic barriers that require both individual strategy and collective action to overcome. The truth telling aspect of financial empowerment was powerfully illustrated through Sharita Flores' experience. Black professionals face unique risks when practicing truth telling in workplaces where vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness, emotions are policed, and one wrong move can reinforce stereotypes they've spent careers trying to dismantle. Many Black women professionals have been conditioned to maintain a facade of strength at all costs, believing vulnerability would be weaponized against them. This created a culture of silence that perpetuated trauma rather than healing it. The solution emerged through creating intentional communities where sharing stories and connecting with others transforms wounds into wisdom and fosters healing. Breaking silence and embracing vulnerability has allowed many professionals to overcome isolation and find pathways to wholeness. Through intentional community building and creating safe spaces for authentic expression, women have been able to reclaim their narratives and transform their professional experiences. This approach has created ripple effects beyond individual healing, challenging workplace cultures, and creating more authentic leadership models. As Jacquie emphasized, leaning forward with intensity. Financial empowerment begins with truth telling about what we're worth, about the barriers we face, about the support we need to succeed. These three pathways: breaking isolation, embracing authentic identity, and building financial empowerment create a powerful framework for transformation. But they require courage, they require community, they require a willingness to speak truth even when that truth is uncomfortable. The stories shared through the Pink Parachute Diaries podcast illustrate what's possible when we embrace these principles. Women who once suffered in silence have found their voices. Women who dimmed their light to fit into professional spaces now shine brightly, illuminating paths for others. Women who struggled financially have built sustainable prosperity that extends beyond themselves to impact their communities. As Jacquie shared with me, her voice dropping to a near whisper that somehow filled the entire room. The most revolutionary act a woman can undertake is to refuse isolation, to reach out, to connect, to build community around her challenges and her triumphs. This isn't just about individual healing, though that's certainly important. It's about collective transformation. When we break the cycle of isolation, when we embrace our authentic identities, when we build pathways to financial empowerment, we create ripples that extend far beyond our individual lives. We challenge workplace cultures that demand conformity at the expense of authenticity. We create more inclusive models of leadership that value diverse perspectives and experiences. We build economic systems that distribute opportunity more equitably. In essence, we create the world we wish to inhabit. So I challenge you today: identify one area where you've been shrinking yourself or suffering in silence, and take a concrete step toward building community around that challenge. This might mean joining a support group, starting a mastermind, or simply reaching out to another woman with a similar experience. Breaking isolation is the first step toward transformation. It's a step that requires courage, vulnerability, and faith that on the other side of that vulnerability lies not judgment, but connection, not rejection, but community. As the African proverb reminds us, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The journey toward authentic success, success that doesn't require compromising our values, our identity, or our well being, is not one we can or should undertake alone. It requires community, it requires truth telling. It requires the courage to break silence and the wisdom to build connections that can sustain us through challenges. Your voice matters. Your story matters. And your willingness to break silence might just be the key that unlocks someone else's prison of isolation. When you speak your truth, you don't just free yourself, you create pathways of liberation for countless others who believed they were alone in their struggle. The revolution begins not with grand gestures, but with the simple, profound act of reaching out your hand and saying, I'm here. I see you. You are not alone. In that moment of connection, worlds change. Systems begin to crack, and the impossible suddenly becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Will you be brave enough to break the silence today?